Okay, here we are, module 3. We're going to do a WordPress install during this module. It doesn't take very long. There's a few steps that you need to follow. We're just going to do the WordPress install in this module, and then go on in the next module to do some more sort of intricate setup of WordPress, the initial setup process that I would go through. Okay, so let's launch into it. I've got my Heart Internet Reseller control panel open here, or at least the dashboard that you would initially log into. Incidentally, if you're not using Heart Internet, your control panel may not look the same as this. It'll have similar features, similar functionality, but the likelihood is that the navigation will be different, perhaps some of the terminology will be different, but fundamentally you should have the same tools available to you. Okay, let's just go through the other things that I've got open. I've got another tab open here, which is the yourperfectdomainname.co.uk that we were working on in the previous module, and I've got my FTP program open. Let's just FTP straight into Your Perfect Domain Name and into public HTML, and there we have it. As we saw from the previous module, we've just got the index.html file on the server at the moment. Okay, so first thing to do is to go to Reseller Control Center. Then we're going to manage a hosting account, because if you remember, we've already set up the hosting account for this particular domain. I'm going to do a search for it, Your Perfect Name, and into Super User, opens a new tab, and now we're controlling just the functionality around this particular domain name, or at least this temporary domain name that we're using, because remember, it's not a actual registered domain name. So if we scroll all the way down, what we then find is WordPress blog. So I'm just going to click on WordPress blog. It then asks me, where would I like to put this? Now, all of my sites are just placed in the public HTML folder. So if we go back to the FTP program, you remember that the folder hierarchy indicates that we have a folder called public HTML. So that's the folder that we're going to put it in. So in a second, you'll see that all of the WordPress files are going to be located in the right-hand side of the window in my FTP program. That indicates that all those files are on the server. Now I could write in another folder name there, folder, if I wanted to put WordPress into a subfolder. There may be an instance where you need to do that. I've never found one, so just leave it as public HTML for now. So very simply, we just need to click Install Now. It then presents us with some locations. Now let me just wait for the page to refresh. Here we are. So it's asking me where I would like this to actually be installed, and it's asking me, do I want to use the subdomain effectively, www? Do I want the URL to be missing the www, or would I like the IP address in front of the domain name? Now, if you've registered your domain name and everything's updated, the DNS is in place, you can actually click one of the options, top or bottom, top or middle, so www or without the www. Because this is not a registered domain name, we need to keep the IP address in front of it, and it's important to install it with this IP address in its entirety, because that's what will go into the database. If you don't click this one, if you click one of the others and the domain is not registered, you will not be able to access the site. You'd have to go back into the database itself, make the change in the appropriate place in order to put that IP address back into it. So just remember, to start with at least, if you're playing around with a domain that isn't registered, just click the one with the IP address in it. Now, the other thing that I do is I highlight that, the whole URL, and I copy it to the clipboard. So Command-C or Control-C if you're on a Windows machine. And I click that. Now the reason I do that is because sometimes you need to paste it in order to why has that not worked? There we go. Okay, sometimes, a couple of times you just have to refresh it. Now remember that I'm doing this in real time. I haven't done any rehearsal. Sometimes things might go wrong. So you saw something go wrong there, which in a way is good, because if it happens to you, you'll know what to do. You just refresh the browser a couple of times and the installation dialog box will hopefully emerge. Okay, so now we have to answer another question. Do we want a single installation, multiple subdomain, or multiple subdirectories? Now, WordPress on the whole is you would use it as a single installation. There are instances where you get a bit more advanced, where you might want to use what's called WordPress multi-site. That's where you can have a top-level WordPress installation and subsequent WordPress installations underneath it, perhaps in subdomains or separate folders, but they all connect to the main parent site. It's quite rare. I only have maybe 2 or 3 sites that run that multi-site setup. So on the whole, you're always going to be clicking single. So let's click single. And now you see what's happened is that it's reverted back to the domain name without the IP address in it. Now that is why I copy that whole URL to the clipboard, because I knew that was going to happen. That will happen if the domain itself is not actually registered. So you just paste that back into the address bar, hit return or refresh the page, and then we'll be back into the installation. So now all we have to do is give it a site title. So let's say Your Perfect Website. You have to put in a username, which let's just say this username is going to be Ben. And the password, it just creates a password for you, or you can type in your own password. It will tell you, or at least it will prompt you, if your password is not strong enough, and encourage you to use a much stronger one. But for now, let's just use the password that it's created for us. And I'm going to copy that to the clipboard as well, just in case my computer doesn't remember it. Then I just need to add an email address, and I always click discourage search engines from indexing this site at this point, because the site is not ready to go. We don't want it won't go live for perhaps a few days, sometimes weeks, even months. So during the development stage, we don't really want the search engines to list anything, because it's going to change, the URLs, the permalinks may change. So at this point, it's best to have discourage search engines from indexing this site ticked. Now we can just click Install WordPress, and I'll tell it to save that password to my keychain, and hopefully it'll remember it. So now I put in Ben. This has now redirected me, incidentally, to the WordPress login screen. So WordPress is installed and everything's ready to go. Let's just quickly go back to the FTP program, where we can see in the right hand side here, remember this is the server. If I now just refresh that side, we'll see that the index.html file has been replaced by a load of other files that end with PHP, and 2 or 3 folders as well. Now these are all of the WordPress files that have been created as part of the installation process. So that's what we would expect to now be in the public HTML folder. So this is good. So now we're just going to click remember and log in, and it's now giving me an error for some reason. Sometimes these things happen. Let's go in and try it again. And there we go. It must have just been a drop in the internet connection for a second there. Okay, so now we are into the WordPress dashboard. WordPress is installed, everything's ready to go, and we'll take a look at the components within WordPress and how to do the initial setup in the next module.